Hello and welcome to Brews and Clues. Today we are going to talk about the future. Maybe Kevin, if you want to start presenting yourself.
Hi, my name's Kevin. I'm currently a student at this thing called the People's High School or the People's College down in Norway. So I'm currently preparing myself to get into design studies, and that requires a lot of work because you have to take tests before you come in. Grades don't count, skill does, and that's wonderful, I think. So, I hope to become a future designer.
Yep. And Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I'm currently at the end of my 5th year as a programming and system architecture student at the University of Oslo. So right now I'm trying to send my new copy of my master thesis to my counselor to have him proof check it. Apart from that, I work as a system developer part-time.
Matthias, you want to present yourself as well?
Yes. Hello, my name is Matthias. I'm now on my second bachelor. I first did one in publishing, and I'm now doing one in journalism. And I want to become a journalist in the future, but quite wide range of interests. But I'm also here to talk about the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as
Yeah.
you guys know now, is we are going to talk about the future today, and we have some topics that we want to talk about. And the first one is: do you guys think religion will exist in the future, or do you think it's going to be the same religion that we have now, or is it going to be a new one?
Well, I think that's probably the main reason we have all this hysteria with politics, and well, it's because you have an absence of religion or slightly absence of religion that makes people seek to other ways of feeling part of something.
Yeah.
Depends on your definition of religion.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
whether it can be
Seems to
something.
change.
Yeah, no, the definition depending on whether or not if you need an omnipotent god or goddesses to define something as religion, or can it be something kind of abstract, very real, like money and capitalism? People seem to dedicate their life, or could it just be something people dedicate their lives to? Perhaps that counts as a religion. Regarding the many gods and the one god, that shit's over already.
Do you think people will worship currency as like a god in the future?
I
They
mean,
kind of do
if
in
you
the
look at the
US.
amount, if you look at the amount of time and anxiety and commitment people give to it, you'd think there was an afterlife to this whole get rich scheme.
yeah, maybe true.
I don't know. Just trying to sound poetic and have fun doing it.
Yeah. Do you think technology will be a part of future religions, or will they keep thinking about religion as the old times where they didn't have technology?
I think some religions might see it as a good thing, but most conservative groups of religion don't see technological development as a good thing. You see, for example, the Amish, for example, they don't want to live any further than like 1880s technology, I think it was.
How about the idea of an afterlife? Neuralink. That's interesting. Uh, well, copying one consciousness into a sort of a simulated afterlife.
Yeah, it's almost like
In a way, it's kind of just a continuation of a religious hope which stems way back, but is it really the same as the person you copied from?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you get to the idea that AI personalities can become that advanced that can actually copy a person's consciousness and personality, then we would look into some sort of like, I don't know, Star Wars-ish.
We might as well bow down by that point, yeah.
I don't know if anyone has ever heard of the game like Cyberpunk, but they really play with the idea of what will happen in future technology where plastic surgery has become like the biggest industry in the world. You can just go to the doctor and buy yourself a new heart or a new arm or whatever if you're not happy with it. Like,
Nah, man, microchips are made of silica or silicone. I'm not sure.
Yeah, silicon.
Here
Yeah, I
comes
guess
a
that it.
data engineer that knows.
Yeah, no more silicon boobies, silicon brains instead.
Silicon Valley. God.
Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it could also be sort of like the West world where like the rich people pay for living their fantasies, sort of. So maybe that could be the afterlife. Like instead of dying, your body is hidden somewhere and your brain is stimulated in a
So
different way.
do we think religion will exist in the future?
I don't know. I think maybe.
I think it will change
The
shape.
human condition just is ever constant, and the anxiety of death just never stops. I'm not sure if it will ever stop being the case. We always have something to comfort ourselves. Might have been religion, might be a new form of new whole concept to religion in the future. Something that takes its place essentially. So
Yeah.
religion, in a way, I don't
Yeah,
think will
I'm
ever
not sure
stop
if
existing.
the religions that we have today will exist like in the future, like probably for the next 100 years, but not like.
I
In
mean,
that.
Christianity and a lot of religions now are already over.
No, some people would
Go
even
search
argue
up
that certain
anyone in
political
Norway.
groups are
Not no,
religious.
not anyone I know, but I am in the Bible Belt of Norway,
Yeah,
and I'm shocked at the amount of churches. I was not used to. I was not prepared for that.
Yeah, it's insane.
It is insane. There's 2 around the block here.
it's more churches than McDonald's.
Actually, no joke. There's 1 Burger King, 5 churches.
Um, so right now we are sending more and more, or like we have like the mission SpaceX, and we also have now that they landed the rover at Mars. Do you guys think space travel will be a bigger part of the future?
I think so.
Oh, 100%.
It already
Especially
is.
now we have like private exploration is legal, so billionaires can just pump money into it. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It already is way more affordable than it was 4 years ago. I'm guessing.
yeah, because
All
of they
thanks
returning
to
the spacecrafts.
not only that, but it's also just the Ford-esque level of production that SpaceX can pump out. It's all economics, right? You build all the components under one roof instead of having many different contractors all over the world sending in, different components and stuff, not standardizing everything, but having an assembly line just pumping out spaceships.
Yeah,
It's cheaper. And that's it. That's the biggest genius of it that no one really ever talks about.
and they're making it reusable.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're making it even cheaper than it really has to be. Even
So
they could
right
mark up
now,
prices.
when people want to have their satellites shot up to the atmosphere, they pay for the entire rocket,
Mhm.
even though, so say SpaceX creates a new rocket for them, SpaceX still lands that rocket and uses it again on someone else, even though you paid for the entire thing.
Oh, don't they go like, do they sell them to each other like after use? Like, yeah, you need a rocket launcher now. You got them.
And SpaceX reuses them, most of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
so
like
someone has
go
to pay for
between.
the first rocket, right? In concept, but really, you're just paying to get stuff up into space first and foremost.
Yeah.
I guess that's probably
And
the legal answer to that.
because they're private, they can do it cheaper, which means still paying for the entire rocket, even though it's reused, is cheaper than using anyone else.
do you think
Right.
private like firms will be the future of space travel, or will
I think so.
It already is.
Why do
It
you-
already
I mean,
is.
like, isn't
It
NASA
already is
getting
the-
their budget
majority
decreased every
space
year now
travel.
under Trump because he said that he wanted to do like more private X. I'm not sure how if they can
Or-
change it to
or-
this government, but
The thing about space travel, or at least in the US, who's the biggest actor there, NASA is usually the ones who pay for most of the launches anyway, because they contract out, like, we need these satellites up, and then SpaceX wins some contracts, then you have Blue Origin who's trying to get some, but then there's the United Launch Alliance, and there's many actors trying to get the contracts for actually creating rockets and shooting up for them. So NASA is actually paying for most of the stuff SpaceX shoots up. So there's a
But
balance
they
there.
don't shoot anything themselves anymore.
Almost nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. They can't make it cheaper. They just can't.
No, but they regulate
And-
the astronauts and the missions.
Do you
I think a small
do you
country
think,
like us will have a role playing in that, or do you think it'll be all about the US and the big companies, and Russia and China?
Oh,
Do you think
you
like
may take your
Norway,
vote
little
back.
Norway, will be able to make an entrance?
Like Norway has a space center now.
Yeah, but that's those just small rockets that barely go up to the stratosphere, wasn't it?
It's the same thing, but we still have there's a treaty. So the Norwegian flag is on the ISS, for example, which is the
'Cause we
International
paid
Space
kinda
Station.
a little bit for it.
Yeah, we do have some. We have like a
we
couple
didn't
of
spend
astronauts.
money on that.
Everyone's funding it, so I think everyone has a chance.
yeah, you have the ESA, I think it is, like the European
Yeah.
Space.
They have their
where-
own astronauts that
Administration, yeah.
sent
Yeah.
to the ISS.
and they are looking for astronauts now. So you guys can-
Yeah, I heard about that. I was
fuck being
thinking I
designers,
could,
you
but
can be
then
awesome.
reality struck me, and I just can't. There's no way. I wasn't even fit for the military.
But
I'm
do
still
you think
salty about that.
space vacation will be a thing in the future?
Well,
Space
in not
stationing. Oh,
in not too long of a time, SpaceX will have a mission with 4 civilians inside their new Dragon capsule. I think one of them is like a multi-billionaire, and they're just going around the moon and back. And one of them is a former cancer patient who works at St. Jude's. It's like this weird mix of people who has no clue how to fucking steer the thing or do anything. They're just gonna sit there and they're just gonna yeet them out to space. So definitely there will be someone doing a vacation there very soon.
That sounds like a good like intro
if it
to
goes
like a
well,
horror movie.
if it goes well,
Yeah, it
Starship.
sounds like an intro to a horror movie, man.
Starship twice. When's the next launch?
I'm not sure. Oh, it's called the Inspiration 4 mission. Let's see. Yeah, so it says CEO dude who's really wealthy. And then there's the... Yeah, so the mission is trying to raise support for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. It's gonna be cool.
Sounds almost like a reality TV show.
Yeah,
Billionaire guy.
Yeah.
Paradise
So
Hotel.
An
So
innocent
two
nurse.
of the seats aren't decided yet. So
Around
you
the
have the
moon.
super billionaire CEO dude, who's donating a lot of money to St. Jude's, and then you have a worker from St. Jude's, and then there's a public competition for the last 2 seats.
And what's the competition?
I have no idea, but
Build
I know you
something
have to
useful
be
inside.
American.
Yeah.
Free healthcare almost isn't worth it.
Yeah.
Knowing that.
Yeah, or not having riots every week.
It kind of comes on top, though, in the end. So we can stay happy.
Yeah.
So, how do you guys think technology will evolve? Like right now, more and more stuff is rented. Like you can rent your car, you can rent your house, everything can be rented. Do you think more will be rented in the future, or and you don't owe anything, or how do you think that would be?
I mean, I think that the shape of the economy will change
think-
to more like renting options. You mean like in terms of apartments and
Yeah, but also like stuff. Like, do you think you will buy your phone, or do you think you will rent your phone? Or
I think people will still own their own phone, and I think people will always prefer to own rather than rent. But there will of course be perhaps more flexible renting solution for things that were unthinkable even 10 years ago. Like now we have cars, you can just use a phone to unlock.
Yep.
And you can go around. And I think that's something that will continue to like evolve. But I think people will always prefer to own their own shit.
yeah, so like you will own your own sofa. You didn't want to rent a sofa.
Yeah, but it probably will be apps where you can rent a sofa in 5 minutes notice and someone will get it to you. I'm sure that will be like
Depends on how much of a liability the actual owning of a product is. Like a car, there are so many extra bills and regulations to keep up with and pay and maintenance and stuff. So of course renting is the way to go there. I feel there's just going to be more of that. It's a growing market,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I'm really
like
just guessing.
with the leasing, when you are
But a
leasing
phone-
a car, you get a new
Yeah.
car every 30 years, so you don't have to ride around in an old car. And it could also be the
That's
same
nice.
with a sofa or something that, I don't know, your sofa
Rent a sofa.
new every 30 years, so you always have the newest model.
Um, I feel like keeping up with the arithmetic and the actual finances of that, though, just keeping your own finances and maintenance with all those bills which just come in every month. You gotta work out if it's more or less than actually owning the sofa. Then again, I don't think it's anywhere near as expensive as a car,
No,
and you don't
Yeah.
you don't need to bring it to a garage
no,
to
that's
get
true.
it checked. Yeah, like rent a stoner, have him sit in your couch to verify it.
Just
Well, I
sitting
honestly
there.
think there will be a huge influx of you can rent anything. I think there will be like an app where you can like you want someone to dress up like Nicolas Cage in your party and just be there the whole evening. There probably will be. Or if you need a
They have
couch,
that in
buy
Japan. They have rent a people services.
Yeah.
They do. You can rent a boyfriend or a guy to pretend to be your boyfriend for your family because you're single and lonely. Actually,
Uh,
you
yeah, I've
can
seen they
rent
also have
like a pretend family to keep you company for the day at a picnic.
that
they
is
also have
horrible. That's so sad and cool at the same time.
they also have like bars where like they have boyfriends that sit with you throughout the night. So
That's
all of
nice.
the guys that
Oh
sit
yeah,
there are like,
a lot more places. I mean, every place with a brothel, every place where brothels are a big thing. Like they have also the host system, right?
yeah, but it's
But
not like a sexual.
the rent a family thing is particular because that doesn't exist anywhere else
No,
other than East Asia, and it's really about face culture and honor, and how they value things looking good as opposed to actually being, in reality, the reality being the reality. You know, it's more about just keeping up appearances.
do you think that would be sort of like the future of social life, that you have to rent people to be with you because that's the way to go?
I think people do that already though, like through influencers, I guess. They kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know. Not, I don't,
Yeah, I think there are
I can't
there
really
are
think of
people
an
out there
example
who
here
are
in the
like
West.
pay friends. I think that will be a thing definitely in the future.
It's not really blatant here in the West, but in a way, mm, people have throughout the ages second-handedly paid for friends, paid to keep them around. Like
This
by having a lot of money, by having a lot of cool things, by having a lot of cool experiences.
I think the
By
newest
being
weird
able to
thing I
afford
discovered
stuff,
is
you're
that
able to keep people around who
e-girls.
want to experience it.
Have you heard
sort
about e-girls?
Oh,
Now
sort
you
of
can pay
makes
girls
sense.
to play video games for you.
yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense because then
Oh,
you can only be there for
yeah.
defined times. Like, oh, do you want to go to, I don't know, to the mall, or do you want to go to a exciting park or something?
Right,
But when they have like
right.
real issues, you don't have to pay for them. You could just like, whoop, fuck you.
Yeah, right. You don't have to get to know somebody.
How do you guys think the economy will evolve? Like now we see with like the GameStop stocks that like some nerds on the internet can like flip Wall Street upside down. Do you think the power will go back to the people, or will the hedge fund and like the big guys keep the power?
Well, the big guys certainly got scared when normal people tried to play their own game, and it really shows, I think, the hypocrisy of the Wall Street world. But of course, this happens all over the financial world. But I think that people now have more power than we used to. Like maybe more people now invest, but I don't necessarily believe in those like eToro and all those like investing apps that try to make people invest. But I think that people now are more aware of this, and I think we can change it if we actually know how to organize it. But
Hmm.
it will be more like what's it called, like the short? Is it called like shorting, as they did
Yeah.
with the stocks for GameStop? I think that will be a recurring thing. But
I mean, it
Well,
really
it's not
reminds me a
new.
lot of other internet pranks that have happened throughout the ages. I'm sure we can remember a few. Um,
Like
when the internet bands together at any point, great things happen.
Yeah.
Like the
Getting
new
people to
Mountain
microwave their
Dew
iPhones.
taste.
Yeah, the Hitler did nothing wrong.
Yeah, those ones.
And
yeah.
the
those-
new Canadian research vessel, Boaty McBoatface.
Oh yeah, that's
Bodie
true.
yeah, Bodie McBoatface.
And they went through with it.
You can
But it
see
was
what
Canada, so it's really harmless.
Yeah, you can see what happens when the internet can decide.
Oh yeah,
Also,
like,
the Taylor Swift meet and greet, where like an old guy was the guy that get voted to meet her, and the
Yeah.
pit bull that went to like
Never
a
met-
deaf, like children that can't hear.
yeah, they voted at school for a deaf school. Yeah,
Yeah,
So true.
she ended up just giving a
But the
donation to the
difference
school.
here, there's a big difference though about this particular action as opposed to the other pranks. A lot of money was involved.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. With
So if people start involving more money in these pranks and start moving markets, then yeah, power to the people.
and I say I don't underestimate
with this.
internet communities because they can do anything if they put their mind to it. Like even the whole like
they agree.
Shia LaBeouf "He Will
Yeah.
Not Divide Us" prank, like they went to some extreme lengths to find that flag, and like all that. Sort
No,
of,
they were more effective than the FBI at that point.
yeah, man. Like honestly, FBI would do this as quickly. I think.
like,
They wouldn't.
do you guys think shorting will be a thing in the future as well? Like, to try to get stock to go down.
I'm not an economist, but also heard
No,
it can be quite risky.
shorting isn't trying to
I
get
do
it
not
down.
know.
Shorting is betting on it going down.
Yeah,
You
but
don't know
like-
if it will.
Yeah, but the hedge fund, they try to get them down. Like, for example, Tesla have been shortened 2 times where the stocks just go down because somebody is forcing it out.
Well, it
But-
goes down
But
because
that's not
a
part of that's not
major.
part of the bet, right?
No,
It's
but
part of more
like
of a
the hedge
media
fund-
campaign slash
the-
paying journalists
hedge fund,
to
they-
report badly on stuff.
the hedge funds are so powerful that if they shorten a stock and they want to get their money back, right? Because that's how they earn cash. They force it, like, do everything possible to try to get the stock down, even though it's not going down.
Me-
So
Media
trying to get local
manipulation.
politicians to tax them more or
Yeah,
stuff like that.
shady stuff.
Yeah.
Real shady.
And how do you guys look at sexuality and like identity in the future?
I thought this was a podcast about design, but I'll answer. Okay.
Yeah,
Do
no, it's a
continue.
more
Yeah,
as
you
in
didn't
general,
finish the
like,
question.
the future.
I mean, it's definitely going to be
future
a recurring
sexuality.
topic of the future. Like now we reached the point where
I've actually been thinking about this a bit.
Again.
Whether it'll go full on free town, free love, free fucking everything, as many partners as you want, no repercussions whatsoever, or just straight the other way down the conservative road because of all the the lack of apparent rules and restrictions, kind of like the social restrictions, of being around, of having such free access to sex, that like the Me Too becomes a thing, like the discussion about what is appropriate and not appropriate, that's become blurred, so it's kind of moving towards that conservative end where it's like you need to have like an auditory yes or no, you need to sign a slip.
do you think that's going to be a thing in the
Be able
future,
to
like
have
a
a one-night
consent form?
stand.
Do you think that's going to be a thing in the future, a consent
Yeah,
form?
that's incredibly conservative in a sense. It's the complete opposite of the sexual liberation, or what, like, it's a sexual liberation movement we're trying to go for, which is just it's a 180. It's
But don't you think, like, in the future, sex will be easier to get through like technology or different ways of actually having to meet a different person?
Well, I think the main issue right now is the whole conflict between the different gender identity. I think that's a very big that our society is still going through. But I think that sure there will be. I think what do you mean about new ways? You're thinking about dating apps, or you're thinking about sex robots? What are you talking about? Like,
No, like just in general, like Do you think sexuality would be something that you have just to reproduce, or is it
I think it's going to be
something
way
that's
more
still,
about something way more. I think it's very much about identity as well.
yeah?
So like, can I ask like everyone here in the panel, like as guys, do you feel like we are pressured to adhere to like masculine gender roles, or do you feel like that's something that's been kind of decreasing in recent decades? It's like our grandparents; they probably grew up in an era where it was very like you have to be a man if you're a boy, you have to be a woman if you're a girl. But
You know
now
what's
these days, we're more
you know what's
open.
hilarious though? A hilarious statistic is that for each and every year that passes after the point at which we started digitizing, people are having just less and less and less sex. Currently, we're the generation with the least sex in history, or at least recorded.
Yeah,
Good
apparently
job.
drink less as well
Statistics
and do less
started
drugs.
taken. Yeah, we're lame. We're docile. We have our pacifier, which is our phones, the internet, the ability to just get confirmation online instead of actually making real connections. So in a way, these apps and such, they they lend themselves to like a very vapid kind of interaction between people. I don't know, we're not pushed to really meet people in the same capacity as before, because if you didn't have friends, you couldn't just go on YouTube and spend the entire day, or just jump on a chat forum and pretend like you are George W. Bush, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Back
Yeah,
in the, you think that like in the future it will evolve even more, that you don't need to meet other people, or do you think the need for meeting other people will still be there?
Depends how good the AI is.
Oh, have
maybe
you guys
maybe
seen the
maybe you could
movie?
just have a
The
her.
movie called Her. I think it's called Her.
Yeah, I
oh
was thinking
no,
about that. Yeah, I was thinking about that.
No, I
The
haven't seen
dude
it.
with this AI, it's like a phone thing that you just talk with, and it's a computer, but like it has the voice of a woman, and like everyone just, it's like basically everyone has their own assistant,
Okay, so
Mhm.
and
he
everyone
has like
just walks around, and it has a camera, so like they talk with it and they interact with it, and because it is like wired to everything else, it just does everything for you. It makes food for you because the kitchen is automatic, everything.
so it's like a advanced Siri.
I like the sound of
Yeah,
that
and
actually.
he falls in love with his assistant
Okay.
machine thing, which is like really weird.
But the
You should
machine
see
falls
it.
in love back
Yeah.
and then leaves him for a super mega quantum computer Chad.
Have you guys seen the new Blade Runner movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like there as well. Like he has the home assistant, and I think it's like his ex-wife or something that, and he rents a prostitute, and they trace his ex-wife on the prostitute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and she looks like her.
True. Oh, what about what's the other movie that's new where everyone's like in the VR, everyone's living in this fucking caravan stacked upon each other, but everyone is inside
Oh
their
yeah,
own
Ready
caravan.
Player,
Yeah, living inside
Ready
the
Player
fucking
One.
VR headset.
Okay.
So no one is
I
actually living in the real world because the
guilty,
virtual one is
guilty.
so
I've
good.
spent 6 hours in VR at one point on VR chat, just talking to people, getting drunk, and having a party. Just me alone and random strangers online with our different avatars, showing each other's avatars and showing us, yeah, looking at worlds,
I think that's the
talking the
future of
most
entertainment. VR.
inane stuff.
After 6 hours, do you feel like they are real friends or like a real person, or how do you?
I have them on my Discord. I get a message on occasion.
Yeah, but
We
like,
helped stop a guy kill himself for one.
yeah, but like after 6 hours.
I'm not kidding. This happened.
Yeah,
And
on the
yeah,
six
no, because his
hours.
actual friends were shit. Yeah, of course it won't. It will never replace real. It will never replace real interactions, but I feel like it is kind of like a glowing It is a bit of a light in a very dark place in our current time because of the lack of social interaction. But at least here, you have that physical presence, even though you're not really talking to exactly who that person is.
Yeah.
They might just be a character, or pretending to be someone else.
Fetish.
But it is much more social than sitting in a chat room or swiping left on Tinder.
Yeah.
You hug, you high five, you play games in the VR chat, mind you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go on magic carpet rides together and then fly into the World Trade Center. That's VR chat.
It's all about the friendship.
That's
I think it's a little bit.
it's all about French.
Yeah. But
I
think
didn't mean
it's
to
a
make it
little bit
PG-13 here.
I think it's interesting with the idea that if you, like, yeah, Jonathan said, the movie, if you spend all your time inside a VR world, why should you have a nice house, sort of?
There are people who sleep in VR chat.
Yeah, so they don't see the real world.
They
sort of.
don't leave. They don't leave. There are sleeping lounges. People go there to sleep, and you can wake them up
So weird.
by making too much noise or snapping your fingers in their faces.
That's
And this is in VR. It's crazy. I got a glimpse of the future, and it doesn't look too bright.
At least you think it's gonna end up like an idiocracy, where like all the people are smart just don't
Man,
get
and
kids.
you want to talk about that sexuality question earlier? People are using Omibods. You know what Omibods are? They're a Wi-Fi connected adult toy. So you have a male and a female version, and people will get girlfriends on VR chat, give each or like have each of their own Omibods and sync them.
So you could send off like a penis to another person and then.
You can send off the movement of your penis
Okay. Wow. So
to another person.
do you get the motion of the ocean through Wi-Fi?
You get the motion of the ocean through VR chat, and your and your anime waifu.
Wow.
Good times.
Good times.
Good times.
And that's exists now.
Probably a lot of alcohol involved. I'm just
Yeah.
guessing.
But that
At
exists
least
now.
I can attest to it. Huh?
And that exists now.
This is literally happening now.
Wow.
This is old news. This isn't new. This
Then-
was
No, but how
very
realistic do you
quickly
think it's gonna be in
after
the
VR
future?
chat
Though?
came out.
Like,
Yeah, I was just thinking about the future.
Oh, that's
and, like,
the thing. Yeah. Yeah. The only thing stopping, from us from fully exiting our lives is haptic body suits or maybe just straight up neural interfacing. So we can basically feel like we're there in our entire body.
Yeah. And also you have to earn money somehow, right? And you can't earn money through
Maybe
VR
there
chat.
will be jobs inside the VR world in the future. Lord knows, people already make.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe people who work as like
yeah.
entertainers or stand-up comedians within VR. Like that could be a thing. Yeah, definitely.
Like, yeah, like actual
Getting paid by the
hired-
VR company to actually like, entertain people.
Not in the VR company. You're paid by the guy who runs the server.
Yeah. If
It goes
maybe
even
if you
lower than
run
that.
a VR server, you don't have to pay anything. Like then you could maybe survive off that.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future they would
Yeah,
have
it's the
VR
Minecraft
nightclubs
system.
where you pay real money to get in.
No, that is a thing.
You actually pay to
It's called the
join, like,
Void Club. It's called the Void Club in VR chat. Yeah,
Do you know
It's a
if
real thing.
How
I
much do you have to
visited.
pay to get in there then?
they have events. They have a
Is it
PayPal that you
expensive?
pay to get in.
you know
I
like
don't remember.
Jonathan told me
Check online. See the prices. Void Club. I will check it.
Jonathan told me earlier that on Flight Simulator you could buy like a custom-made airport. Is it
Yeah.
possible to do that in VR chat as well? Like you could buy like, I don't know, fancy furniture, or you could spend real money on stuff inside of the game.
Well, you can definitely pay someone to make like a map that you interact on.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I think because VR chat is more like this chat room thing,
Yep.
So it's kind of like Discord, except you have like this VR platform where you interact. So the thing you could, I'm not sure if you could sell it at the same, because most of the rooms and stuff in VR chat is just taken from games or whatever. You could
yeah.
definitely like pay someone to make a custom room for you, but it wouldn't really serve a purpose.
But on Flight Simulator is only for your own satisfaction to like know that you landed on your local
Airports
airport.
for your satisfaction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or it's more like because Microsoft Flight Simulator is of course developed by Microsoft, or as Hobo, which is owned by Microsoft. And what Microsoft has is Bing Maps, which sucks. It's really bad. And then you have Bing Maps of the entire world, where their shitty photography is used with AI to generate buildings and airports across the entire globe. So every single airport in the world is there, and every single building, so to say, is there as well. And so instead of having this generic airport, then you can have then there's like companies who work with just 3D modeling airports or planes or whatever to like really high quality. So when you land at the airport, you can actually see like, oh, this hangar looks correct as in the real thing. It's just
Oh.
to make it more real, really.
So you could look like the Oslo airport, sort of.
Yeah, but then also I have a website where people do the same, like instead of doing it professional, but people do it like a really good job. They download the Google Maps images, which are a lot better, and then they have a lot of images and stuff to actually model it quite right. So you get the almost real thing for free as well, because people just make this for each other.
Hmm.
Do you think like a a merge between like Google Maps and like some sort of VR chat where you could actually walk around in the VR world in the real world, if you understand what I mean?
Oh yeah, that could work, except for Google Maps. The Street View function only takes a picture for every 10th meter in 3D. While if you were supposed to be able to walk around, you need a picture for every centimeter.
Yeah, but like in the future, maybe.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of data. So as of now, I don't know how many petabytes of image storage Google Maps uses, but it's a fucking shit ton.
Yeah.
So, but
And you probably
definitely,
need
like you can definitely do it for a smaller area, but it requires a lot of data.
like really high and like the band, like the internet connection and stuff like that for.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. So yeah, it's fiber times a lot,
Yeah.
and that's why, for example, VR usually uh, works so well, because you have this generated like game graphics, but since they're computed, then there's no restriction to where your head is, because it's not like images, because it's rendered actually there. So you move around and it feels real.
Vector.
The eyes are really deceptive. So you have the thing called alcohol goggles,
Yeah.
which you put
Well,
on and you immediately get the effect of being like drunk, just because of how the eyes see, because they're so inflicted by it. Well, so you have people trying to drive like the Nürburgring with the glasses on, and they wreck their cars
Ooh.
because your entire body gets affected by it. And then, like the second you take it off, then you're fine.
You couldn't have chosen a better track. It had to be the Nurburgring.
The first that came
The
to
tight
mind.
winding corners of the Nurburgring
Yeah.
with with beer glasses.
At least it wasn't some like the streets in the Alps or like in the west coast of Norway, where
Yeah,
you
it's
just go
basically
down
the same.
200 meters.
It's basically the same, yeah. Windy, tight roads.
If like future historians look back at our generation, what would they think they would say about our generation?
You probably think of us as like the second baby boomer generation because there are a lot of things in common with them. Because we grew up right after the Cold War, we didn't have as many problems to deal with. Like it was much more optimistic. Whereas the same with the baby boomers who grew up after the Second World War, and we probably considered like a quite spoiled generation by the elders, but also maybe like a generation of change. Like
Even
our
though
generation is very interested in like gender politics and PC culture that our generation before us weren't interested in at all. Wait, Kevin, do you say?
Yeah, no, something that my stepfather read, I believe, in The Economist was the trends between the the different arbitrary categorization of generations is that Gen Z, which is now, I think we're kind of on edge between millennial and Gen Z, but like the typical thing with Gen Z is that they, comparatively to the other generations, save the most money, play it the safest,
our generation.
are the most responsible. No joke.
Wow.
It's
Is
so
that the
lame.
news or us?
I think it's us. Yeah, I think that is actually our generation, though.
I think that's I think that's a little bit interesting because I feel like with the social media and stuff, like people are so obsessed with money, like having
That
to
is
show
true.
off, and you have to travel to expensive places, and
Makes
but
sense.
yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah.
but maybe you don't get the same need of travel because you could
It's
travel.
cheaper. It's so much cheaper too
Yeah, that's true as
than it
well.
was
Or
before.
it used to. We don't know after Corona, but
Hmm. Well, we're a lame generation of people who love to save money and be responsible, not drink, have not have too much sex.
no.
Aren't we just exciting?
We
I can
are the
say.
most sort of going back to the first question. We are sort of the most religious, non-religion generation.
Mm,
Like we
very
we don't
conservative
drink
in a
that much. We
sense.
don't have sex, and we
Yeah, we're basically conservatives without God.
yeah.
It's
No.
like
Godless
doomers, isn't that the
conservacy.
name, bro?
Consumers,
Doomers.
doomers, yeah, doomers.
I think it's very relative to where you live, all of these questions, because you have, let's
Was
say,
it?
the United States, where you have New York and you have California,
Mm.
and then
This is, of course, the Western
everything
world I'm
between,
probably
which
thinking of. Yeah.
is backcountry or whatever, is just people who doesn't have money, can't really travel. 95% of all Americans haven't even left the USA. They don't even have
It doesn't even the home
passports because
states even.
they can't afford leaving anything. I think, and a lot of those people are also the ones who's the most religious. And then you have like the rest of the world, like underdeveloped countries such as Cambodia, for instance.
I'm half
uh,
Cambodian, by the way.
like
I wonder where that comes
countries in
from.
Africa, war zones like Syria and Iraq. It's a lot more religion there because they don't have the freedom which we do. But like in Norway, it's a Christian country, but probably one of the least religious countries in the world because we have this freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you think if you travel and meet different cultures, you get less religious?
You become cynical.
No, but it's more like you have the freedom to do it.
Yeah, I
Like
think that,
being able to do more makes you able to not like go to a higher power to want more. I don't know.
Not
no, I
only
think that's
that.
one of the main theories is that we need something to replace it. I think that's what you can see very
Yeah.
clearly in, for example,
Being-
Proud Boys in the US or Antifa. It's very like people who need something bigger. Like if you look at how they are structured, it's almost like a religion, like almost religious belief in their political ideals. Everyone who doesn't believe in them is against them, and that they are. It's many similarities if you really look into it, like some of those groups. I'm not saying all political groups, but the most extreme ones, like Antifa and Proud Boys, are like that.
So maybe that could be the new religion that
Proud Boys
like,
become a religion. God.
I believe in Proud Boys.
I believe in Donny T and the Emperor.
Yeah, but
I
those
believe in
people
ISIS.
those are people who just want
No.
to belong with
That's a
someone,
joke.
so they get this really, really edge case view on something, and they share it with someone else, and because they share it, they think it's cool, and
Yeah, that's how Trump won the
that's how
election.
they created a cult, and now everyone who's in the cult is having fun because they're doing it with each other.
They tried to storm the fucking Capitol building. It's a cult, man. It's a fucking
Yeah.
cult.
Yeah, I think, like you said, like I think a lot of them just do it to feel some sort of
And yeah, and the same thing
brotherhood
is
and togetherness.
and the same thing is with religions, because it's somewhere you meet people with the same views, you share ideals. While in Norway, you don't really need to go to church. You have soccer practice, you have swimming practice, you have to go in the forest and hunt with your father. You have like, because of how wealthy our country is, we have so much free time and the possibilities to do a lot more. So
Yeah.
we don't fill our time with going to church because it's free and that's all we can do.
Yeah.
Something that's a little bit interesting is like,
Yeah, we get the hobbies, we do sports. Norway gets 90% of Winter Olympic golds.
Yeah.
at least we like to think so.
We also have
We don't get
cynicism.
shit in the Summer Olympics, but
Yeah,
we have
sadly,
winter.
nobody gives a shit about the Winter Olympics besides Canada, Norway, and Russia.
Yeah, and Sweden.
United States are good at something,
Yeah,
like hockey.
I think good at both, like summer and winter.
Something that's a little bit interesting is like right extremist movement that they are now getting more popular in like Scandinavia and more developed countries. So like I think that's a little bit backwards. Like if you
This
think
might be onto
about,
something with his previous point
yeah,
about
Which points?
godlessness and needing to
Yeah.
find something bigger than themselves, like political activism.
Yeah.
To the
Yeah.
extreme, though,
On the edges, like Antifa, Proud Boys.
on the very brim. Yeah.
Even though the fundamentals of what they stand for may be appealing to some people, it's just the methods they use and the way they distinguish between their own and their enemies is very like typical like old-fashioned religion.
Yeah, it's like us against them.
Yeah, you either with us or you're against us kind of thing. Yeah. I
There's
mean,
a
now they're
cool-
gonna remove the chocolate called Cuba from Norwegian stores because apparently it's racist.
Yeah, I had a
Here's-
Cuba yesterday here in Denmark, but it's
Oh,
not the
enjoy it
same
while you
as-
can, man.
Yeah,
Here's
but
a fun little saying: a country is just a dialect with a flag.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
us versus them.
Uh,
Just sounded cool.
It's sort of what we went into now, but how do you guys think we socialize in the future?
Much
Is it
more
still
VR,
up
but
in
probably.
bars?
Oh, can I come with that point of view?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the way things are going now, and since how the technology since the 2000s has just exploded. Like when we were born, you barely had electronic, small user appliance electronics, and now it's basically everywhere and it's pretty cheap. And with that, you have a lot of other technologies that we don't think about, but what's coming is now self-driving semi-trucks, self-flying planes. We have tractors, agriculture equipment being automatic, meaning one person can operate several square kilometers of farmland just by controlling some computer monitors. And because of that, and especially as how Norway is now with the oil fund and stuff, that we're able to to have the funds to integrate this stuff. I think because we're able to automate all the things which are necessary, we have to automate everything which creates foods, gather food, etc. I think because of that, a lot of jobs will disappear, but I think the need of jobs will also disappear. So I think we might be turning into something which will end up being everyone working less and having more vacation and still being able to provide, because if everything's automated, everything's probably cheaper as well.
I hope to God
So-
you're right.
So everything we need to survive is automated. So people won't really work that much more, but more, live, do sports, vacation, whatever.
So you think they have more time to socialize?
But
Because I think what you really work for now is like you have to provide, you have to find a home, you have to have money for food, and then
let me be a devil's advocate for just a
but
little
then
bit.
if we get to the
Income
point where you
inequality.
basically barely need working people to be able to make food for an entire nation to survive of,
Mhm.
then you have equation 1 is out of the window, and then it's the question, like, should everyone just have a home and and be good?
But what, like, all jobs can't be automized, sort of.
No, of course not.
What happens to the people that can, like, still have to work? It's sort of.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're also increasing in population, so I think because of that, I think it's like what they're doing with the nurses now. It's like they're proposing a 6-hour work day.
I think they.
And I think that will probably be more common after some, like, in the future, because we're more people, things are more automated, so we have more time to do whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
That's a thought, at least for the future.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting.
It's a well thought out thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well
I
put.
just came to it after my second glass of beer.
Yeah, it's the beer that's speaking. But do you think you will, like, now with like viruses and stuff like that? Do you think travel will be the same after, or do you think it will change?
I think it will change, but I think it will pick up pretty quickly. Unless like the viruses mutate and all our vaccines are fucked, so we have to start from scratch, and then we have another 2 years with lockdown. Then I think because, like, if we have another 2 or 3 years with lockdown, I think we will be different. But now it's like we lost one summer,
No more. Yeah.
and
more
then
than that.
if we kind of can start travel again because the vaccines are effective this summer, I think it will be just as normal for most. Yeah.
Mutations. God,
Let's hope
it's
then.
scary.
Do you guys like Kevin and Matthias? Do you have any inputs on how the future of socializing will be?
Well, I think it's going to be very much more VR. To some extent, if you live far away from each other, but I also think that the main structures will remain. There will still be bars and cinemas, and people will be more. I think after Corona, people will appreciate physical contact way more. I think people will long for that. I think that all of the things will remain, but that VR will also be a big part of it.
Offices will play a lesser role,
Yep.
especially after Corona. I mean, it's been said before. I'm not the first.
Do you think
person
people
to
will
say-
fly less now? Do you think the companies will have more like Skype conferences and Zoom meetings rather
Yeah,
than
I
bothering to
really-
fly the other side of the world just to do
I
it?
think so.
The
'cause-
infrastructure is there now.
Yeah, and at least
Yeah.
in tech, what's happening now is you have Google in Mountain View, but there's people who works there who's now like sent back to India or whatever, and there's they live in these poor areas in India, but they're really smart, so they work for Google. But Google doesn't, usually your job pays you for the area you work in where you live, so you're able to provide for yourself. That's why you have a higher salary working as one thing in Oslo, while in Drammen you'll earn a little less because you don't need to earn as much.
But do you think? Yeah.
And what Google's doing and many other companies in Silicon Valley is they're still paying the exact same salary, because the people are doing the exact same job.
But
And
they're living.
I think that will spread.
Not only that, but that might actually push people to move to cheaper places and actually just continue work abroad, online,
Exactly.
and becoming a digital nomad. I think probably is going to be much more of a thing.
Oh yeah.
You already see entire islands like Bali with nothing but people who work online.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like. Why should you stay in Norway when you could travel the world on a sailboat while
And
you work?
get
Oh,
some and
we
get pretty
have
much
welfare.
same salary.
Yeah, that's true. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
but that was just an example. Like,
Yeah.
if you could work from wherever, why should you sit in Oslo when you can sit on your cabin, or you could sit, I don't know, you could have
On
an
the
RV
beach.
traveling around Europe while you work.
Or you could be drinking $50 beers down by the
That's
beach.
the thing. You can do all these things now.
Yeah, I think also it's a little bit interesting with Corona because I think a lot of the companies didn't really realize how easy it was to implement like new technology, and
Mhm.
Because they're
how
run by old people.
yeah, like how adaptive we are. And I
Once
think
people have to, yeah.
yeah, I think that will also in the future change how like they aren't that afraid of implementing new technologies. So maybe they are more like
The old people had to adapt and they had to start asking young people what to do.
Yeah.
That's and then you get some good solutions, I'd say. If you're willing to listen to a younger crowd.
something I found really fun was my mother. She had like she was drinking like cocktails with her friends through Zoom, and that was like the first time ever. And they are from different parts of Norway, and they was like,
Mm,
"Oh, this is so fun!" And like we that have played video games our whole life have been doing this since we was like 13 years old.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I think it's fun that for us it's like, yeah, of course, but for them it's a new world, sort of.
Cowbunga.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, it's true. Like, take it for granted. Like, the old generation still discover things like YouTube and Netflix every day. You know, like my parents didn't even watch YouTube until like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
Your parents are
God,
hella
that's
old
late.
though.
That's true.
Hella old and hella conservative and hella religious.
Not
Are
that
they?
religious, just
No, okay.
They had an indoor
Hella
pool though,
conservative,
so
though.
they're cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Indoor pool, yeah.
Yeah. That's their religion.
Sure as fuck would be mine.
Oil and money. They love oil and money.
Yeah.
They make a lot of money on oil.
But
They do not believe in climate change.
Not man-made, at least.
yeah, that's
Not
also a
man-made.
question. Like, do you think climate change will? Do you think we will find a solution for that in the future, or do we have to move to Mars?
No, I think the climate change is. As of now, I don't really think we affected that much, because we know about the ice ages, for example. So I think it's just it's a circle,
Yeah.
like a many 100-year circle. So some years we're colder, some years we're warmer. I think that's natural. I think we have to
Don't
do a
ice
lot
ages
more worse.
last thousands of years though.
Yeah, exactly.
So just get through one. You're fine.
Yeah, exactly. And back in the Viking Age, you
Just
could
make
play
sure humanity
Norway.
survives an ice age, and then it's all trapped in the ice again.
Yeah, and right now we're warm, so technology is blooming. So I think
just a
we'll
few
be fine.
100,000 years or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
long it takes. My God, it's so easy.
I want the first mammoth though. I'm calling dibs. I'm going out there with a fucking spear.
So you're going
Taking
back in
hunting.
time.
No, they'll come back. We'll have because when the ice age is starting to hit Africa, the elephants will mutate and they'll grow fur and these huge tusks, and then I'll come running with the spear.
Not your AK or like a modern weapon, your spear.
Like you
I
just
have
find a bunch of AK encased in ice.
Yeah.
In not long, I have to
And it
run
still
out
fires.
and get the package.
That's also like
Oh, he's here. I'm having a package delivery.
Okay.
Nice.
So I'll be gone for a few minutes.
It's nice timing.
But like if archaeologi archaeologists, sorry, one of you guys have to help me. The people that dig in the soil. Archaeologists.
Archaeologists.
Archaeologists. Yeah. When they in the future uh dig up stuff from our generation now, what do you think they will see? A lot of plastic bags?
Yeah, actually, no, yeah, that's you answered your own question there, Sam. That's a lot of plastic. Unless we start, unless the ocean cleanup has started. There's this dude who started this, who designed this contraption, which would basically float on the very top layer and just allow the currents to sweep across it, and then have all the plastic just collect into one single collection point. Have you heard of this?
No.
It was a TED talk.
Oh.
And
What I heard about it,
they're
it's like a
already,
circular
they're
sort of-
already, yeah, but they're already using it in, for example, the river in Jakarta, and it's cleaning up stuff there, and it seemingly works very well. So maybe there won't be that much plastic by the end of it. I don't know. I hope they don't find too much plastic
Maybe they can make
in
a
the
fish.
future of our generation. Maybe they could make a what?
Maybe we can make a fish that eats plastic instead.
Yeah, a robot
Yeah.
fish that eats plastic.
A robot fish.
Or just like a
Finding Nemo.
or a DNA modified fish that just
Finding Tesco bags.
A Disney 2065 picture film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen
PG-18.
Hmm?
Have you seen
PG-18.
Tesco bag?
Tesco bags. Not really. I'm not sure why I mentioned Tesco
But
bags. I
Tesco
guess
bags
it's
are
the-
everywhere in the
it's-
UK.
I guess it's the closest thing I could think of to Nemo.
Yeah, we have a Rema in Denmark as well.
That you do?
Yeah.
How is
Really?
that?
Yeah, it's the same as in Norway, but they sell wine and hard liquor as well.
So
Nice.
it's the same but fun.
Yeah.
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 Man,
Exactly.
Danes know how to party.
And I feel like it's sort of like the more high and cheap store here in Denmark. Like
High
in Norway, it's
end.
more like a cheap store, but
Yeah, it is the cheapest store.
yeah. But here it's like it's cheap, but they have like good stuff.
Because everything was already so cheap. But if it's from Norway, it's got to be quality. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm back,
I
boys.
don't
What's
know
cracking?
exactly what the attitude is.
We are talking about Rema 1000. We
Yeah, like
sidetracked.
what do we?
I
think the
love Rema
future-
1000.
The Danish
This
Rema 1000.
podcast is sponsored by Rema 1000.
The app.
Sponsored by alcoholism.
I had the app.
Yeah, that's all of the questions that I had prepared for our podcast today.
Wonderful.
So,
Cool.
is it anything more that you guys wanted to say?
Ah, 3D printing.
Yep.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Resin printing, CNC printing.
Oh, these
Or see-
huge machines which basically print houses just by laying cinder blocks.
Have you seen
Basically, just the biggest CNC you can ever imagine. Yeah,
They,
cement
they,
CNC.
they also have
essentially.
like just extruded concrete as well.
Yeah,
That's really cool. And
we
I've
should be
seen
3D
like
printing so much more.
yeah, the
Yeah.
only I see some of them that make circular houses, which is also quite
Mm.
interesting because they are more
That's effective though.
like more effective to print.
Yeah, really effective.
And it's also
now-
like for like volcanoes and stuff like that. It's also much better for circular houses.
Yeah, more aerodynamic.
Yeah.
Good point.
But
But
like,
what do you think about 3D printing in the future? How
yeah,
will
that's
it
what
work?
I was thinking about. Like for home applications, essentially. Do you need a screw? Well, you got a metal printer. Do you need a toilet brush? 3D
Make one.
printer.
I'm also thinking more like, when you have something and a really small part of it break, and
Yeah.
that part is like, then you have to buy a whole new thing just
That's-
because of that small part.
But that's the thing. People here, for example, we have like 20 3D printers. and one
Yeah.
resin printer. People are printing parts to everyday things that they have that are broken.
Yeah.
Completely gutting their headsets and just redesigning it with 3D parts that
Yeah,
they've
but
printed
like
themselves. It's real
we
cool.
are, I think we are more privileged because we are at a design school. So most
Yeah.
people haven't used a 3D
But
printer.
that's the thing. It's like most people don't know just how useful it can be.
No.
They wouldn't even know where to start. Most Prusas, for example, you have to set up on your own from scratch. That's the cheapest one, but also the best one,
And you also
which
have
is hilarious.
and you also have to be sort of like a little bit tech savvy. Like
You
I don't think
do.
my mom would manage to set up a 3D print.
And plug and play is like 3 times the price if you get a Gens, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like you also not only need to know a 3D printer, but you also need to know like a 3D modeling program or something, like a way to make the model
3D
that you actually
modeling,
want.
yes. But also, even simpler than that, just knowing how to use Thingiverse.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But I think
the
actually,
mod-
have you seen like the VR 3D modeling now, where you basically sculpt in air and it's almost like
Yeah, yeah,
filling
yeah.
with clay, and that's something like everyone
Product
could do.
designers.
You don't need to be like a tech savvy guy to make
Mm.
something there because it's sort of like when you was in children's school and just played with clay.
Every product designer like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you
I
could just.
guess I haven't tried it myself, but
Oh, me
I
neither.
really
But
do want to try it. If
yeah,
it really does feel like clay in a sense,
yeah,
or
I think,
behaves like it.
but I still like. I think 3D printing will probably be in the future. Like it's the way forward, sort of.
It is, and I think the more people who know how to use 3D printers, right, the
That would also mean the
it's,
death of
it's
some
just it
industries for
has
sure.
such a user issue. It has such a user experience issue. There's so much finicky that can happen with like 3D printers, but printers just in general, paper printers, they bust all the time.
Yeah, people have issues with regular paper printers.
Yeah,
Right,
And
right,
then
but
you
but
have
but
the
they live
3D
with it.
printers who suddenly won't stick to the bed, and then it's just like making this ball of plastic
Or like spaghetti.
while you're trying to look for boat. No, what's it called? Like the boaty. Boaty test. Is this boat that you print to check how good your 3D printer is?
the
It's
boat.
it's the benchmark boaty.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, is
The
that what that? I've
It's
seen
a
one of those
benchmark
just lying
boaty or
around.
something.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you've seen these small boats, it's
Yeah,
to
I've seen
check
them.
how good your printer is
Ah,
to, because it has different advanced shapes
I
yeah.
thought it was just
with
someone who wanted to print
overhangs
a
and
boat.
gradual overhangs and such.
Hmm.
So those are
Right.
benchmarks for 3D printers.
Right. Right. Right.
I also think like the cost of a 3D printer, but also the time of printing something is also really a big turnoff for most people.
Mm.
Like,
I really think though, once resin printers get cheaper, I guess, because like you can print such high quality with resin.
yeah, but have you ever printed with one? It's sticky and it's
Is it?
glue, right? And it has to be
Ah, I've
Yeah,
been waiting
because
to try
the
it.
resin ones are the ones who uses laser and basically just pulls it up from the resin, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are really expensive.
yeah,
They are.
yeah. But they like Kevin
They're
said,
not prohibitively expensive though.
but
You know what I think is a really underrated technology, which is actually not that expensive. I've come to learn
no, what?
projection mapping, augmented projection mapping,
Oh, yeah.
or augmented reality projection mapping. I checked out what the pack costs. It's like it's like 7,000 kroners for
Oh,
like the a
that's where
really
Xbox was really groundbreaking, where the
yeah,
Kinect sensor is really accurate,
Yeah,
and it
it
costs
is.
nothing. It's
rem-
they have an open API for it, so it's like
Hmm.
every like robotic project just hacks one and uses it because it's so good and it's really cheap.
Which
You
means you
have
can
like
probably I'm
people
not sure if
writing
it'd be good
master
enough for
theses where they have
yeah.
they put a trash bin on wheels, and they just have the trash bin under the desk,
Hmm.
and they connect to
And
the
just
roof, and then just when they're drawing something, they're like, nah, just scrap it and just throw it somewhere in the room, that trash
Yeah,
bin
and
will
it'll
just
pick it up.
zoop, and it will always land in the trash bin. It's insane.
Wow.
And
I
that's
wonder if that's good
accurate.
enough
Like
for
you can
AR
throw
project-
something anywhere in a room, and that thing will know where it will land way before.
Wonder if that's good enough for projection mapping though. Because they have new ones now, obviously. And
Yeah,
the connector is kind of old. But yeah, no, projection mapping, augmented reality, turning things into stunning visual canvases, like just sides of rocks and stuff like that. That's something I personally want to get into, and I personally think is really underutilized in a lot of industries. For example, I've proposed this for Sørlandsbadet. They were having a hackathon here, and we're trying to get ideas from a bunch of crazy kids without any reason to think reasonable at all.
Yep.
AR projection, and the thing is, it would only cost them 7,000 kroners to implement in their already very ambient velværesenter. And imagine swimming in augmented reality flower petals while in like a super sweet spa pool, you know, stuff
I've
like
seen-
that.
I've seen,
Just-
like-
it's so cheap, so quick to implement, so underutilized.
I think it was in
I think-
Milan that they had like a projected mapped whole church, and they made like the whole church look like it fold apart and stuff. It was really cool.
I've yet to figure out though the size of that projection and the cost of it, because I wonder how you
because
project an
they-
entire building. I've not figured that out.
No, because then you need some hardcore stuff. But maybe
And you
it's
need
interesting.
probably
Maybe,
cinema projectors.
but if the whole room had like 3D mapped, then you don't need a
Yeah.
TV, because then your
You,
wall could just turn into a TV.
you don't need paint.
No, you don't need. Yeah.
Well, you need white paint, yeah, but you don't need wall decorations,
Yeah.
and the whole space becomes kind of VR-y.
just
in a
think
sense.
about that fucking electricity bill in these times.
Yeah. That's true.
In Norway, though, it's pretty okay, isn't it?
No,
Or, I don't know.
I'm paying twice as much as I usually do now.
And I saw that.
Whoa.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
it
the
Is it because of your projection?
The electricity prices has for the last 2 weeks had a new record every day for how
Oh,
expensive it is.
Yeah, I
Also-
noticed like
Oh God,
It's. I think
Because it's been
mostly-
really cold for the last 3 weeks.
has it?
and it's
Mm.
Because
also
it's
because
4
of the
degrees here.
electric
No,
cars.
today and yesterday it's been warm. Every other day is like minus 20.
And also
Oh, it
electric
hasn't been
cars
that cold here. I
charging.
live in the southern tip of Norway. Thank God, I guess. The record snowfall here in Mondal. They haven't seen this much snow ever before, as we did in the last 2 weeks.
And that's because you're enough south to be at the degree where it snows properly.
Where
but
it shouldn't really
Oslo and
appear,
everywhere
actually.
else, it's been way too cold to snow.
Oof. Man, lucky me.
Yeah.
Yeah. People were skiing on the beach, like
Yeah.
Longdens,
Oh,
skiing,
yeah,
Fucking
Costa Rica.
hardcore.
cross country skiing by the beach. Yeah, just like
Here,
there's a
everyone's
massive
just
stretch.
going on
There's massive
skates
stretches
in
of
the
beaches.
lake.
Well, actually, that sounds also a lot more fun.
I have another topic.
Anyway,
Yep.
Yeah, go for it.
Transportation. What do we think about, for example, SpaceX, who wants to use Starship to take you from New York to Tokyo in 30 minutes? And then we have also Hyperloop, which is, they have a test track.
a lot of
in
controversies
Dubai
though.
and in
isn't
LA
it, with
or Las
Hyperloop?
Vegas, I think, where the Hyperloop is, you stuff a capsule inside a vacuum chamber so it has no friction, and it just yeets on electricity.
It hasn't really.
While SpaceX
hasn't really
uses
worked
fucking
yet, though,
rocket
has it?
launchers.
I think
Hmm.
Hyperloop is probably quite like really interesting. Like for example, if you could have like a Hyperloop from Oslo to Stockholm or something, or to Oslo to Copenhagen, or
Yeah,
Copenhagen to Berlin. I
I
don't know.
think it's really, really far away. Unfortunately, they don't seem to be making much progress. Maglev trains that go faster.
yeah,
argue.
exactly. You want to hear my
Exist,
point of view
right?
on the Hyperloop?
Yep.
It should have been
Yeah,
developed
please
by
do.
Japanese people because they're thorough enough. because the
Yeah.
current Hyperloop tracks
Yeah.
they're not straight enough for the speed they want to do, so it's really shaky. And
Also,
yeah,
there's
and
the
then you
issue
have the
of actually
Japanese people who's
pressurizing.
like Hyperloop is trying to go over a Mach, which is 1,000 kilometers an hour, while the Japanese are doing 600 kilometers an hour without having a
Also,
vacuum chamber.
Yeah, with the bullet train.
Yeah, the bullet trains,
yeah.
or that's just the
The,
newest one,
the,
which
the
is the
thing is
maglev, because it levitates, so
that
they remove
maglev
the
track is a
friction
test
from
track.
the. Oh yeah,
If you want
no,
it,
no, they have a test track, but they're building it properly from Osaka to
yeah,
Tokyo.
yeah.
And the thing is,
So,
they offered to build it in the US as well, but the US don't use money on trains. So
so stupid, isn't it? It's
yeah,
also tiresome.
but just think about it. If you take the fucking maglev train and put it in a vacuum chamber with the Japanese people's precision on those
Test
things,
track is there. The
like
train is there.
I've been on
Put
the
a
bullet
vacuum
train in
around and see
Japan,
if the
and
vacuum itself works.
like you
The
have
biggest, yeah,
15-year-old
you
bullet
finish.
trains in Japan which operate daily. They're what is like 16 wagons long, which is like 500 something meters, and that thing has for 15 years every single day gone in cruising, speed 300 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
And you sit on it and you don't even feel it shaking.
So the future is just
Yeah.
getting
Here's
Japanese
You
engineers.
have
what
to,
really
yeah, you
disappoints me about
literally have to.
Hyperloop, though. They're still at the developing. Yeah, they're still at the point where they're just trying to develop the trains themselves. They haven't even tackled the real engineering challenge yet, which is actually making tubes safe for transportation.
I
If one
think the
pops,
worst part is
everyone will explode from the depressurization
no. That's the thing,
along the
because
entire track.
you're inside a pressurized vessel. So
Yeah.
long as that one keeps
Uh-huh.
pressurized, you won't know that
Oh.
you're inside vacuum.
The vacuum is outside.
Mm.
Yeah, because you're sitting in a capsule, and then which is inside a tube, and the tube is filled with vacuum or not filled.
I think the
Yeah.
problem
anything.
is that
Yeah,
It's
vacuum,
hard to keep it vacuum inside because it's such a big tube.
and also like if it's one leak, then
Yeah.
it just sucks in air.
Yeah, so it has to be done thoroughly, which brings me back to Japanese people should build it because they know thoroughly.
But I think if we take it down a notch, is the future of transportation cars, or like how will cars be? Like not just speed transport, but regular people transport.
Oh, I think we will have electric cars.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like we say, it's
Self-driving
environmentally
cars.
friendly, but the power which uses them come from coal plants, so it's win-win, whatever. It sucks for the people down in Ukraine and Poland because and Denmark, who has all the coal plants, and Sweden. While in Norway we get this fresh air because we only use their electricity on it.
Yeah. Yeah. We have
But I think we'll have more, electric vehicles which communicate with each other, because the main thing which creates, traffic is braking lengths. So when you're going at a certain speed, you have this length of braking, and if someone's not that paying attention, they'll might brake really hard, and that's the kind of things when the roads are starting to get like full. If you brake hard, wait for a second, and go, there will be like an hour and a half of traffic behind you, because the braking lengths of everyone coming behind you will just build up this really bad traffic.
But do you think you will drive, or will it
So let's
be?
have all the cars brake at the same time, right?
I think I both will and will not. I think it's dependent on where you are, but I think if cars communicate and accelerate and deaccelerate together, then we'll get rid of all the fucking traffic.
Yes,
Because
but if
that will remove, digestion.
if like the cars is what is it called, like the self-driving?
Oh, by the way, it's congestion. Digestion is what happens
Yeah,
in the
congestion.
stomach.
Sorry.
It will remove digestion.
Rookie mistake.
No, man.
But it's
Just funny
interesting
when you say it like that.
if you don't have to drive your car to work every day.
I think maybe not.
Yeah,
But I think if you go into your cabin, then maybe you will, and there's still a lot of like uncertainty and unpredicted behaviors, and I think Tesla is doing a real good job. But you still don't know, like, if a person jumps in front of a car, what the fuck will it do exactly?
Yeah,
and then you have the new dilemma, like, where's the responsibility? Is it the people who programmed the car who's responsible for killing this person? Because you probably would have been able to act, or is it your fault for not acting? It's like this really new dilemma thing. But I think like in city areas, I think you won't drive yourself at all, and on highways and such, I think it will be completely automated. So you're basically just like, maybe it's more like how you fly a plane now, like you tune in the autopilot on different speeds, and the car will, change lanes for you and solve it. But then when you're in the woods and stuff, you have to, you manually drive it.
Yep.
So I think the key part missing from the AI point of view when it comes to self-driving cars is that the self-driving cars now only uses their own sensors to predict where they're going. Well, I think if we're going to do this properly, I think we need sensors on the road as well, on the highways, communicating with the cars. So the cars know where on the roads they are, and they know where all other cars are.
But
so there's this net of communication making it possible.
I have an idea with this, though. Not my idea, but if we gather enough of this big data and all these connected cars communicating with each other, that opens up the possibility for public ride sharing possibilities where
Yeah, exactly.
you just jump in like a
You
little
don't need to own
compartment
a
in
car
the
to
car,
get anywhere.
right? And it can probably calculate the fastest route to like drop all passengers off, right?
Yeah.
Even and so you can just jump in from anywhere and it'll work. It'll just work.
If you don't drive your car, what will you spend the time that you are inside of the car doing?
More time to do productive stuff or nothing at all, or
you
your
can
phone.
work on your way to work.
Yes,
or you can work
It's
from
on a
home.
laptop, or you can work from home and just take a ride to have fun.
To have fun.
If that's what fun is for people in the future, I don't know.
Or you're gonna get blasted drunk that night.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that would be so great.
It would
Imagine
be
that
so
you
nice.
You can go out, you can get shit faced, and you
but
just sit
but
in a car and it will drive you home.
But imagine what this technology will do to the housing market. Right? People live centrally because it's a lot easier to get to. But if all the cars are connected through this big data system you were referring to, and traffic congestion is
you can live anywhere.
You can live anywhere, and the prices of housing will be so much more affordable. I think because it's just spread out. You take that centralized accumulation of value and just flatten it out over a bigger area.
So
Very
that
true.
might be also the solution.
This needs to happen. I can't wait for it. Yeah. I really think it'll solve the housing crisis, because the housing crisis is really a transportation crisis, isn't it, though, in the end of the day?
Well,
people
it's
can't
not
get to where they need to get to.
But
well,
also
it's not
effective enough.
Yeah, people want to be close to other people as well.
Yeah.
And I think there's like a big boundary between like personalities. Like for me, who's not raised in the city, but more like on the outside with a house and a garden, Like I
Mhm.
couldn't even think about wanting to live in the inner city and raise a like child there or whatever,
Which is
because
what
I
my
think
parents are
it's
doing.
it's too much noise for me. I don't think it's healthy. I really don't like the idea. But then I know people who's like, I don't want to live anywhere else but in the center of the city, because that's where shit happens. So that's what they're used to. And for me, it's just like, nah,
But now
fuck
you're
off.
very lucky that you don't live in one of the world's biggest cities. Imagine
Yeah,
if you were
exactly.
to, if
Yeah,
you could
Like New
flatten out,
York,
say
you have
London or
40
Tokyo.
stores above, 40 stores below, and you're just like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, no, but like you take that concentration of valued property and just
Yeah.
flatten it out, right? Because now anyone can get to the place within like a 20-minute drive, even less from like several. God, these cities are so big.
Yeah,
I'm probably
exactly.
even
And then if we have the proper communication between vehicles, we can
right.
actually even raise the speed limits on the highways, because if all vehicles knows each other's speeds and knows when others are braking, you can brake exactly the same and accelerate the same. So you won't have you will have a constant gap between, which
Mhm.
meaning you can go so fucking fast.
You-
It's
But I feel like the highway will need to be encapsulated somewhat because
yeah. It has to be
I mean,
regulated. Like only cars with this technology can go on it. But I
yeah,
think
and
that
and
will be
and
it
like
will be
closed.
super effective if we manage to make it right.
Yeah, I'm excited
Literally,
for the future now.
you can go at 200 kilometers an hour, and you can just be like 1 meter behind the car in front of you,
Mm.
because the cars communicate. So it's not like the driver in front can just slam the brakes and you'll crash into him. And you'll just have the constant length because you'll brake at the same time.
Yeah,
Maybe
think-
the cars
God,
could
it's
link
beautiful.
up, so it was sort of like a train, and then
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. But that will again, like we have to get certain standards. Like you have to have this kind of brakes, or this
And you'll find
standard
like
of
on
brakes. You
Facebook
have to
like
have this kind of
Tesla
motor.
train group and like BMW train groups,
You can't stop a truck train.
Joyride and train
Yeah, but
groups
then again,
AI.
like we need to get like a unified standard for all the vehicles, so they talk
Right.
together or
Right.
link up somehow. That would be fun if like all cars on the highway just like connected somehow
yeah,
Yeah.
and just
it's actually
fucking
interesting.
went.
Like
Uh,
Kevin said, like, will a BMW connect with the Audi? Like, will the companies compete, sort of like the Apple now do with they have their own?
Yeah, it has to be government regulated. It has to be
No, but
something
it
public.
will, because the benefit is so big. Because it's not like one car brand is doing 90%
Yeah.
of the business. It's so many car brands doing 5% each because of the different cost ranges. And I think because of that, if someone comes up with a technology that really works well, you can see it as Vips in Norway. They created the best, money transferring platform, which ended up, and it was part of DNB, so you had to have or you didn't even have to have an account in DNB.
No, I think you could
But
use whatever.
because everyone started using it and it worked so well, they outsourced it from DNB and they let all the other banks in Norway buy into it. So every bank in Norway owns a share of Vips. So
Oh.
but the people who created Vips, they're the ones who's rich now.
So it could be like, instead of having all different car companies, it's one future company
You
with
create
all
this
the
one,
investors.
you create this
Mm.
one standard,
Yeah.
which all the car companies which apply to because applying to that standard will get them customers. It's like saying this, it's not Tesla, but another country creates this technology and implements it on the highways in Norway. It will be huge benefactor for every car company that creates cars who supports it.
Mm.
Like everyone will start buying the cars who supports the technology, because that means no congestion,
That's
high speeds on the highways, everything. So That's where it lies.
It does everything a car does, just
And I
better.
think even if let's say BMW comes up with it, I think they will still make more money by allowing all the other car companies to buy into it, because it's so much to benefit from it.
Yeah, it's
That made me
interesting.
happy just hearing that.
Matthias, do you have anything?
Well, I gotta say, like, my cars is not my strong field. Like, I'm not. I don't even know all the brands that are today, but I think that the whole idea that they will be interconnected through technology is very likely. I mean, even you can see, like, see future movies, like, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Total Recall, where you're like the taxis are driven by robots who have personalities, constructs in them, like their own personality, and they talk to you and they do everything. They do all the driving while you just focus on everything else. I think that's highly probable. It depends how the governments of the world and the UN will respond to it, because I think a lot of people are skeptical to the idea of self-driving cars. There's already been deaths. I think there's already been like 15 deaths related to it. So people are skeptical unless we trust technology, I guess. I'm not really good with this aspect of technology, but
Yeah.
I think it'll become a thing. But I think will be some places who ban it because they're not too positive about the, it could be a risk to normal people. What if someone hacks into the system and makes all the car run over people? Like what?
Yeah, I think that's also like
Tech
issue. Like if
It
Al
could
Qaeda
happen.
or I don't know, the future terrorist group,
Future
they suddenly hacks into all the cars and then I don't know, connect something wrong and all the cars explode or crash into each other or something.
Such a delicate system.
Yeah.
And it's so big, I guess.
That's the thing. Like, there are many computer businesses out there, and there will always be some people find a loophole to get into those systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think cybersecurity is one of the most important aspects of security in the future. I mean, there's already
it is the most important
Already.
security.
And the driest, what's it called? Fogfelt. What's that in English?
Field.
Yeah, it's a field. Yeah, it's one of the driest IT fields out there.
Yeah.
We're
But it
sort
is
of
the best one to get a job from. It's very easy to get a job.
because no one wants to have it that boring.
It's sort of interesting how the future warfare will be as well. Like, do you think they will actually shoot people, or is it just how many computers they could hack, or is it
drones? Lots of drones, I think.
Yeah, but
I think
it's
just
really unfair. Like, if you are a poor country and you just get bombed to shit because of a drone from America, you don't have anything to do to fight against it.
Okay. So when it comes to tech, there's always ways to secure your stuff, unless someone finds a way around. But then it's probably easy to secure it again. I took ethical hacking last semester, which taught me you literally only have to make sure what you're using for security protocols or whatever you're doing. It just has to be not violated bug or whatever. So I think, security-wise, it just has to be implemented properly, and that's why the biggest firms have a lot of people working within cybersecurity, just to, like Facebook has probably 1,000 employees just trying to hack their website constantly. Then again, they have this $1 million bounty on, like, if anyone is able to breach some sort of security and get some info out, if you don't misuse it and just tell them about it, they will wire transfer you $1 million for you not telling anyone about the security
I
fault,
wonder if it gets
so
taxed.
they can fix it.
Of course it gets taxed.
Of course.
Then you probably
doesn't feel as much as a prize anymore.
but the thing you do is, like, you move to the Cayman Islands for like a week. So when that wire transfer hits you, that's when you live in a tax-free country.
Yeah.
There'll always be
One,
taxes
one
in the
for
future.
all,
That's
but
for
not
sure.
in, but not if I'm getting $1 million.
Yeah, I think also I think that's another topic we can talk about because different countries have different tax regulations, but because of the internet and how business is commenced
Ooh,
over the
what's
internet, it sort of interconnects all the countries, which means taxes. It's not because also the states know more. So Norway, when you live here, they have more access to knowing what you own. So you can't have like a hidden bank account in the Switzerland anymore.
no, man. That's a good thing, though.
And then
Unfortunately,
also,
to be honest, that's a
but
good
then again,
thing.
you have the Cayman Islands, which really is not on the internet, almost.
Yeah, you also have some countries in like Africa, and you also have Luxembourg, right? That you still
Yeah, and the
Monaco.
thing, oh yeah, Monaco. If you
Yeah.
live in Monaco, if you have a house there, which is your primary residence for over 6 months, and you constantly live there, you pay no tax.
Yeah. So it doesn't make sense to live in a country like Denmark or Norway that has a lot of taxes, just because you don't need to live here to work for.
Well, there's a reason these small city states are tax havens in the first place, is because it is their entire economy. It brings in people with money, and it brings in people that move in to spend, usually with a
Exactly.
lot of money to spend. So it's, of course, their entire nation is built upon not having
Yeah,
taxes. But
but
it's only because
that's how it's
only
now.
their situation gives. But yeah, but
How will it be in the future?
with digitizing everything, right?
Yeah.
It's but
Like, of
then,
course, a city is thriving if the only like clothing stores are Louis Vuitton and fucking Gucci, and everyone who's living there is billionaires.
and
But what
essentially
happens now
actually
when
leeching
everyone?
off monetary value off other nations, actually, in principle.
Mm,
Yeah,
Like, that's money that belongs to another country, actually.
yeah, they are sort of stealing from the other countries.
Yeah, and in a sense, Monaco is stealing from other countries in a way, facilitating the stealing.
Yeah, that's it for our podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know that we guys really liked talking about it, so hope it's as enjoyable as listening to as we enjoyed talking.